Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Rakakwadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Akiam. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Rakakwadash, all praises and glory is due. And the title of this video will be, "This is the reason why they removed critical race theory from schools." Do not trust the science. Trust in Yahweh. Trust in the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Call Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Rakakwadash. And the elder Malcolm from the GMS Chicago camp, he has two channels, right? Critical race history, not theory, because that is exactly what it is. You see, CRT, as they called it, right? So, and this is taking you back to 2023. But critical race theory was not actually critical race theory, but rather critical race history. And the reason why Esau Edom removed critical race history from schools was because the truth of this devil, the lies, the deceptions, and the wickedness was being exposed on a large scale. And this is going back to that period where critical race history / critical race theory was still very much, a hot topic, okay? And once again, going back to the lesson, the subtitle of this lesson: do not trust the science, trust in the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, because Esau science is false, pseudoscience. I will get those precepts, but let's focus on this article first. And this is the article that was being covered actually by the video that I put up before this video. So let's get into it. Antinor Feman challenged anthropology's racist roots 150 years ago. The Haitian scholar showed that science didn't support white supremacy. And this is what we talk about when we talk about Esau Edom. And this is also why I said do not trust the science, trust in Yahweh, because we know that the science that Esau Edom pushes is not true science, okay? That's why the scriptures say, and let's get that precept. And this isn't really a video for the brothers, but rather it's for you jakes that are in the world, you jakes that still believe in science, right? You jakes that Esau will tell you about the Big Bang Theory and you will nod your head and say, yes, Daddy Esau, yes, Daddy Esau. That is who this is actually for. Because the men of the Lord, right, the brothers that are in this street already know that Esau science is all bullshit anyway. And true science, right, is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Rather, I should say true science comes from the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, because the word science goes back to the Latin word scientia, which means to know, knowledge. So now, 1 Timothy 6 verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. Right. And that's why you are seeing in these last days a lot of Esau's false sciences are being exposed, right? Because you always had and it's also being exposed, right? The deceit and the false science that Esau Edom also used to push his Edomite supremacy, right? To make it seem as though Edomites are the number one or the most advanced or the most evolved race. That's where you get your theory of evolution from. That's where you get things like false science, pseudosciences like IQ and eugenics from. That's where you get phrenology. If you know what phrenology is, it's basically the shape of the skull. And that's where you get your classification of the races. That's why we tell you there's no such thing as a so-called black people. There's no such thing as white people. There is no such thing as Negroid people, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, all these foolish, false racial designations that Esau Edom has put upon the peoples of this world. It does not exist, okay? You can go back to the history of how in the 1600s, right, the classification of white was invented, basically. So your racial classifications that you are using now, oh, black, we black, I'm black, y'all, I'm blackity black, that all that is false pseudoscience that was created by Esau Edom in order to present himself once again as the more evolved, more advanced, and basically, more glorious people than what they actually are by assigning themselves the term white and basically all the positive connotations that comes with that, and then giving you so-called Negroes, right? The term black and all the negative connotations that go with that, right? And in these last days, all this information is becoming more and more exposed, and you are finding out, right? So this is something I actually found out that a lot of these exposés that are bringing out the fact that Esau Edom lied concerning the science, right? Concerning the science about race and human beings, which is basically what anthropology is. And like I was saying, you find out that it's actually Jake that was bringing out a lot of this information, right? You always, a lot of times, not all the time, right? Not most of the time, but a lot of times, right? This information is actually being brought out by Jake. Like, take for example, the fact that you find out that human beings originated in, of course, they are saying that human beings originated in East Africa, which is, of course, false. After all, as it is written, Jerusalem is the mother of us all, right? But like I was saying, the fact that let's just get this first. The definition of the word anthropology, right? Anthropology is the study of what makes us human. To understand the full sweep and complexity of cultures across all of human history, anthropology draws and builds upon knowledge from the social and biological sciences as well as the humanities and physical sciences. Right, so starting with, and you see right here that, part of anthropology is that whole false theory of evolution, which of course, we know that basically the idea of evolution is to present the Edomites as the final form of human evolution, right? The most evolved race. And I'm sure that you Akim have heard of this whole thing where people are saying that, oh well, white people aren't completely human because they have the highest amount of so-called Neanderthal DNA in them, right? Like 1%, and they now find out that it's Jake, right? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians that have the lowest amount of Neanderthal DNA, which is of course off because there is no such thing as Neanderthals or Homo Neanderthal. Basically, it all goes back to the idea of evolution, and there were multiple human races that were on the earth. Homo Neanderthal, Homo erectus. I think there's another one called Homo habilis, and so on and so forth, right? But there has only ever been one, form of man that is on the earth. And of course, the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai divided those men into nations, right? Into races, because that's exactly what the word or the term race actually means. It means nationality, it means heritage, it means, bloodline by the way of your fathers, okay? And basically what I'm trying to say is that you had some East African, which of course, some East African, Kenyan, Ethiopian scientists that ultimately exposed Esau Edom and showed that these Edomites were had Homo Neanderthal DNA, which once again is false, right? But the thing, I happen to be pretty fascinated with all this scientific stuff, and you find out that Esau is the biggest. Well, of course, we already know that Esau is the biggest liar on the earth, because science, okay, true science, actual science that has had experimentation and evidence for it being true, and not just something that is made up by Esau Edom, like a lot of your modern science that you are currently using right now, proves and continues to prove the existence of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Like case in point, there's an example of something called the universal fine tuning, which basically states that if any factor of if anything in all of creation had just changed by a factor of either 1 or 0, or even by a factor of a fraction of itself, like for example, if atoms were smaller, if molecules were smaller, if the gases that were used to quote unquote create the universe, right? Because Esau believes in the Big Bang, were different. If the Earth was in a different position, or if gravity was somehow higher or lower, right? Or if any other or if the, like say, the amount of oxygen or nitrogen in the air was a different different amounts, that it would be impossible for life to exist on the earth. Basically, the idea of universal fine tuning is that that the universe was perfectly created and perfectly fine tuned to support life. Okay, and this is it right here. Fine tuned universe. A fine tuned universe is the hypothesis that because life as we know it could not exist if the constants of nature, such as the electron charge, the gravitational constant, and others, had been even slightly different, the universe must be tuned specifically for life. In practice, this hypothesis is formulated in terms of dimensionless physical constants. Let's get the definition of this word, dimensionless physical constants. In physics, a dimensionless physical constant is a physical constant that is dimensionless, that is, a pure number having no units attached and having a numerical value that is independent of whatever systems of units may be used. Okay, so basically, what it's saying is that there's no unit of measurement. Like, for example, you measure weight or mass in kilograms. That means that there's no units for it. Like, kilograms is for mass, or meter per second is for speed, right? Or things of that nature. And it basically is a constant, meaning that it does not change. And the fact that constants exist naturally in nature is already even proof of the most high, however, shine or shine, right? Because the idea of the Big Bang Theory is basically entropy, but a form of entropy that created the universe. And there shouldn't be any constant when it comes to entropy, right? Because basically, what entropy is just chaos. Okay, but anyway, that's beside the point. The focus of this video is going into, you know, like I said, the reason why they took out critical race theory, because basically what critical race theory was doing was it was presenting actual science, okay, actual truth into Esau's school system, which Esau can't have that, man, because the school system has to constantly perpetuate deceit, lies, and basically everything that keeps Esau Edom in power, right? Lies, deceits, wickedness. Okay, so let's read some of this article just a little bit. Okay, right. At the end of the 19th century, one of the hottest debates among anthropologists was whether human beings originated from a single ancestor or many. The answer, just one. Members of both camps, though, largely agreed that whatever their origins, some races were superior to others. Haitian anthropologist Antenor Fermin knew that premise to be false, right? And another your ideas in anthropology, like I mentioned, evolution, the race, and so on and so forth, were all created in order to push Esau Edom to the top and to make Esau Edom look as though they were the most evolved or the highest form of human life. In other words, Edomite supremacy. That's why you had theories like phrenology. That's why you had pseudoscientific theories like evolution, eugenics, and even IQ as well. There's a reason why it's Esau Edom. Amalek at the top of the IQ scale, then it's Jake at the bottom, because IQ is based off of you, or rather, IQ was used in eugenics, and eugenics is just white supremacy. Okay, and so you're now later finding out that eugenics is completely false, because it turns out that Edomites, as the scriptures have already explained, that they are leprous. Okay, even scientifically they are leprous, right? In other words, they have recessive genetics. That's the reason why they have light skin, white skin instead of dark skin, because they are devoid of melanin, right? That's why the scriptures say that when Esau was born, let's get that precept, because that's basically what the scriptures says when it says that when Esau was born, that he was born red all over like a hairy garment, and he was called Aishur, which Aishur in the Hebrew, Aishashwa, wasted away. Okay, and the reason why he looked wasted away was because he lacked melanin, he lacked his pigmentation, and that's why you have these Edomites being unable to live on most parts of the planet. That's why Esau has to stay in places where we don't really get much sunlight, and even when they do stay in places that get sunlight, they either have to use sunscreen or get cancer. And the funny thing is that that sunscreen has melanin in it, right? And I just found out that you can get melanin from, of course, most animals have melanin. But I think it's mostly octopus ink that they get their melanin from, according to ESA, of course. But let's just get this first. Right. Genesis 25, verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Right, and like I said, name Esau goes back to the Hebrew Ishah or Ishashwa, and it means wasted away. He wasted away, and the reason why Esau was wasted away was because he did not have his pigmentation, he did not have his melanin. So basically, the recessive genetics of pale, non-melanated skin. And this isn't me glorifying melanin or saying that, oh, melanin is just this great thing, okay, which of course it is, but not in the way that a lot of these black unconscious do it, okay, but rather it is showing you, okay, that the Most High Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai are melanated, okay, in other words, dark skinned, in other words, Negroes, okay, even Esau's straight hair, recessive genes, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, recessive, right? But let's not go into that. That's not what we're focused on right now. What we're focused on is this right here. We continue this right here. And this guy right here, Antonov Furman, guys like Antonov Furman, guys like Sheikh Ante Diop, because it's through guys like Sheikh Ante Diop and Ivan Van Setema, which are Jake, okay, Jake that even know that, or even know about the so-called Egyptians being black, or even about the Olmecs, because it was Ivan Van Setema that wrote about the Olmecs being, which the Olmecs are, the Hamites that came to the Americas, right, in order to get gold and exotic animals and so on and so forth for Solomon, King Solomon, right, the Hamite sailors. And let me get that, Ivan Van Sertima, here he is. Let's see right here, it's Jake. Guys like Ivan Van Sertima, guys like Cheikh Ante Diop, which are all historians and archaeologists, John Claude and Dr. John Henry Clark. That's what I was thinking about. John Henry Clark and guys like that, the ones that brought out a lot of this information about the Egyptians being so called black. All right, Jake, the Olmecs being the Olmecs being dark skinned people, right? Hamites. Okay, let's get this. Ivan Van Sertima, American Guyanese anthropologist. And that's basically all I get about him, because not only the main point I want to get is right here. One of the books that he made, 1976, they came before Columbus, and also the golden age of the Moor, right? And it's individuals like this, and also Frances Cress Walsing as well. They are the ones that brought out a lot of the information concerning, right, Jakes being the Moors, okay, the Hamites that came as the Olmecs, the Hamites that were the Egyptians. And let me rephrase that, or rather say that again, the Egyptians are Hamites, okay, not you so-called Negroes in Babylon the Great, because you have a lot of our people that think that they are Egyptians. No, Egyptians are Hamites, all right. The Olmecs are Hamites as well, okay. And these are also the same men that also brought out the information concerning, like for example, I've forgotten who, I think that was Rudolph Windsor. I forget who wrote the book From Babylon to Timbuktu. I think that was Rudolph R. Windsor. Yeah, Rudolph R. Windsor. And I believe he was also, a Jake. Let's get that. Rudolph R. There he is. Rudolph R. Windsor, right? And he's one that wrote From Babylon to Timbuktu. And it's the Jakes like this that brought out all the a lot of the information about how a lot of the about how the first men, right, the original people, were actually so-called, black, right, dark-skinned people with negroid features. Okay, and of course it was now left to the men of the Lord to put all that information in its full context, being that Jake, right, the first man, Adam, was a Jake, and it was Israelites that brought forth all the other nations, and that the Israelites were the actual Moors. The Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and that the Hamites are the Egyptians. The Hamites are the Olmecs. The Hamites are, or rather, I should say that the Egyptians were also dark-skinned people, but they were Hamites. The Olmecs were also dark-skinned people were Hamites, and that in the ancient world, everybody, right, during that time, except for the Edomites, were all dark-skinned, dark-skinned people. Okay, and it's guys like this that brought out that information. And ultimately, this is why Esau had to take out CRT from the classrooms, because if you actually learned real history, learned real truth, not just about Babylon the Great, though, because it doesn't just end that. The thing is that if the history of Babylon the Great and the history of our people's oppression in Babylon the Great is just a very, very small part of this major iceberg. Because what was coming out during that CRT period was a lot of hidden history about the world before Esau came into power, and that is what Esau was really afraid of, what afraid was going to come out, even just as much as the history of America or Babylon the Great. Because during that period, the way people were learning about critical race theory, you had a lot of these Edomite children that were finding out just how evil their people are, and they were finding out that they were the devil, which the Bible speaks of. And that's why a lot of people are coming out, oh, my son is coming back home and asking me, are white people evil? And look, let not say anything, because you already know, man, Edomites, Esau, Edom, okay, so-called red man, Esau, all right, you are the devil that the Bible speaks of. So that question should go without saying. But let's continue reading. So now, as it quotes, human beings everywhere are endowed with the same qualities and defects without distinctions based on color and or anatomical shape. Fermin wrote in French in his 1885 book, The Equality of the Human Races. The races are equal, which of course we know that this is false, because the races are not equal. It is the Israelites, right, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the scattered Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, are far greater in the eyes of the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, which means that they are greater just in general than all the other races of people, all the other nations. Okay, and I won't use the term race because of course you will falsely misconstrue that with black, white. You think that, oh, this guy is saying that all black people are. No, of course I'm not, because this is not a color thing, it is a heritage thing. If your bloodline, if your nationality, if your ancestry goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right, then you are an Israelite, irregardless of your physical appearance. So now let's get this. This is right here. Jeremiah 10 verse 16, and the main point is even in the front. The portion of Jacob is not like them. Right. So our people, that's why the scripture says that we are a holy, peculiar people. And what holy means, right? Quadash, set apart. And peculiar, see English. Peculiar means different, okay? So you are a holy, it's like so you are a holy and peculiar people, right? So now Jeremiah 10 verse 16, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name, right? Because the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai had chosen our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, out of all the nations that exist on the earth, to be his people. So no, all human nations, Okay, not races. Nations are not made equal because the nation of Israel is at the top. Deuteronomy 14, verse 1. Ye are the children of Yahweh your power. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy power. And Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all nations that are upon the earth. That's the point right there. And the nation of Israel was set up to be the number one nation, okay, the top nation by the Most High. Yahweh Basham Yahweh. Alright. So you had this information, right, about guys like Antonio Furman and all the other men that I mentioned, Chekante Diop, Ivan Van Settima, John Henry Clark, Francis Creswell Singh with the ISIS papers, and even so many more people I forgot to mention, right? And that information has to be taken out of schools because Esau could not allow you Israelites, okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians to learn true science, alright, the truth about these devils, which is basically that they are the devil the Bible speaks of, right? Let's continue reading. Fleming was ahead of his time. Today, genetic research confirms that human populations cannot be divided into distinct racial groups. And this is another thing that Esau does now that, all his lies are being exposed. Like he'll tell you that, oh, we're all one human race, race is a social construct, so on and so forth, which of course it is. Race according to Esau, Edom, like I just mentioned that, right? Negroid, Caucasoid, and Mongoloid. And that was actually done by, I'm forgetting the guy's name, who created those racial classifications. Let me just quickly Google it because I've forgotten his name. I'm looking for it, like, yeah. But I can't remember his name. Let me just look for it on Wikipedia. I can't remember his name. Yeah, I can't remember his name. I can't find it, and I can't find it here. That's not him either. Yeah, here it is. Blumenbach. That's what I was looking for. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. That's what I was looking for. Let's get this article in the Britannica Encyclopedia. Right. So, race as a cat. Okay, hold on. So yeah, the history of the idea of race. Okay, race as a categorizing term referring to human beings was first used in the English language in the late 16th century until the 18th century. It had a generalized meaning similar to other classifying terms such as type, sort, or kind. Occasionally, occasional literature of Shakespeare's time referred to a race of saints or a race of bishops. And I think you can see um, how the word race was used prior to Esau, Edom, co-opting it and using it to refer to white, black, so on and so forth. And it was just used as a specific group of people, right? Similar to a lot of the words that are currently in the scriptures. Like for example, when we tell you Thomas is out here that John 3 verse 16, he's not talking about the whole world, but he's talking about a specific group of people, namely the Israelites, the elect of the nation, not the elect, but namely the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Okay, and it's the same thing happening here. By the 18th century, race was widely used for sorting and ranking the peoples in the in the English colonies. Europeans who saw themselves as free people, Amerindians who had been conquered, and Africans who were being brought in as slave labor, and this usage continues today. Right, so just like I said, how the term white was originally created in Virginia in the late 1600s, right? And then you now have three classifications of the human race: Negroid, Caucasoid, and Mongoloid, and it was done by that individual I just mentioned, Blooming Black. Well, that was his name, Blooming Black, Johann Friedrich Blooming Black. So let me get that, Johann. Here it is, and of course he's a German, and look at him, Edomite as hell. So yeah, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, and he was the one that created the construct of race, okay, which is of course pseudo-scientific because, and let me see if it was actually him that did that. Right, so this is right here. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach also has been called the father of physical anthropology, right? And this is what Esau has been using to push his Edomite supremacy by different and different quote unquote anthropologists, right? Different pseudoscientific or pseudoscientists like this that are claiming that, oh, without any scientific evidence, just because, right, are the so-called white, but truly they are Edomite man, is the most evolved, right, most civilized, all these different terms that Esau uses to put himself at the top. But you find out that it is all just lies and deceit, because not only are they not the most civilized, they are the most base and most savage men out here, right? Because if you like you said, this is why critical race theory wasn't pushed, because it not only will it expose Esau Edom as a liar, but also a hypocrite, because you now find out that the real savages are you Edomites all along. Let's not even talk about the Middle Ages, where these devils they didn't even know how to bathe, where these devils are spreading so much germs and diseases among themselves that it almost wiped them out during the time period of the Black Plague, right? Or how it had to be Jake the Moors that basically came in and civilized Esau Edom enough for them to be able to take over. Okay, how that's the crazy thing right there. We always read that precept about how Esau, the Roman Empire would have to go down, and Esau, would be, the devil would be loose for a little season, right? The period of 1,000 years, which is basically the Dark Ages up until the Renaissance. And before that Renaissance period, you had the Moors, right, coming in and civilizing Esau Edom, because coming in and civilizing Esau Edom, right? Because even during that time, Jake was still ruling heavily in Europe, and the vast majority of these so-called European nations were being controlled by Jake. Okay, so it was a combination of, right, Moors coming in from North Africa and Jakes that was already in Europe. Because the thing is that a lot of the Jakes that were in Europe, they also reclassified them as Moors when they were actually just Jakes that were already living and ruling as nobles in Europe. Because it's funny how people say, oh, it's the Moors that civilized Esau, it's the Moors that civilized Esau, but you have records of those same Moors being royalty in Europe, but one day coming from North Africa, right? Because the idea was that Moors was a general term for Jake during that time, right? And Moors wasn't a term for Muslims, right? Like Esau and these historians would have you believe. No, Moors was a term specifically for Jake. It doesn't matter if it was Jake that was living in Europe at the time, or if it was Jake that was coming out of North Africa, right? So basically, Jake civilize these devils and advance them up to the point of them being able to come into rulership, kick out Jake that was ruling in Europe at the time, right? Which is what happened in Spain and so like yeah. Which is what happened in Spain and Portugal right before colonialism. Basically, the Moors were chased out of Spain. That's why you had that whole Jewish what do they call it, the quote unquote discrimination of the so-called of the not so-called but the Jews in Spain and Portugal at the time. That was actually a discrimination against Jake, right? Because they were the ones in rulership and Esau was in power. I wanted to kick Jake out. I wish eventually the hold on. Right. And once Esau came into power, he continued his deceit of the whole world. Revelation, the 21st chapter. Which is why you have this current Edomite pseudoscience being the way in which is why you have this Edomite pseudoscience being the basically the general narrative of both history and science and so on and other both of basically knowledge, history, science, and the like. Right. So let me just end the video right there. So with that, once again, all praises, honor and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Basham Yawashai, Basham Rakakwadash, Wa Abad Babal, Shalom. And through the Spirit up you are come and you are quite edified. Shalom.